Thank you guys. Okay. So hi guys. This is going to be the first day of Future of Tanzania season 4. I'm really excited to be leading this with Aiden. And so yeah, we're just gonna get started, and hopefully the Tanzanian kids will join soon. But yeah, to give you guys a rundown of all the channels, right? What we're gonna have is behind the scenes, right? So behind the scenes is basically just gonna be a channel where us as the teachers can communicate, and we're just going to use this as a channel to make sure that we know what we're doing, right? If we have any questions, you guys can feel free to ask it here. And yeah, we can use this to prepare for the next lessons. Now, for the live lecture notes, this slide is, or sorry, this channel is going to be used for just it's in the name, it's live lecture notes, right? So whoever's in charge of the live lecture notes during that day is just going to take screenshots of whatever the instructor for that time is like lecturing on. So you'll take screenshots and then you'll paste it into the live lecture notes, and then you can add like a sentence or two about what's going on in the screenshot. If you don't feel like there you have to have context, right? Then you can just put the screenshot itself. For the Q&A, this will so once again, the live lecture notes are going to be happening um, during the lecture, right? And the Q&A is also going to be happening during the lecture as well. So we'll have a few people on live lecture notes, and we'll also have a few people on Q&A. And so the people in Q&A are just going to be answering any questions that the Tanzanian kids might have. I remember to try to you know explain it simply. Don't use like like jargon, coding jargon, because that might confuse them, right? Because obviously, even if they are really fast learners, they are still beginners and intermediate level coders. So yeah, we'll have people in charge of Q&A. So I believe for today, the people in charge of Q&A are just Julia Lim and Peter Jing. So thank you guys for volunteering for that. Um, okay, next thing is the playground channel. So the playground channel is basically just a like a casual, I guess, channel, like an informal chat, right, that you can use to talk to um, the Tanzanian kids. Just a reminder, please don't send friend requests to the Tanzanian kids, and make sure that if they send you friend requests, you don't accept them, right? Keep all communication inside of the playground channel, the homework channel, the Q&A channel. Make sure you guys are not doing direct messages. It's just easier that way for everyone, right? And then the homework channel is where the students will um, submit their homework. So yeah, we'll be assigning them homework, and they'll just be submitting it in this channel. You guys will be at one point, at some point, you guys will be the ones checking it and the ones giving them feedback. So please be prepared for that, and you guys will most likely have to sign up for that as well. The class video is basically just where we'll upload YouTube videos of um, the previous classes. So if you guys think you might need to look back on the video, right, then you guys can reference it. But it's mainly for the students, right, just in case they miss a lesson day for any reason, they can look back and they can get all caught up, even if it's just not live, right? And then we also have finally the show off channel. So this is just basically where the students will show off any achievements that they might have, right? This is mainly for the students, right? Because I mean we're not going to be doing any showing off here, but yeah, they will show off maybe some projects that they might make, and they'll also be doing some I guess they might show off some certificates. I think that's what they showed off last year. But yeah, make sure you guys congratulate them when they do, because obviously it's a big achievement for them. Okay, so I think that sums up um, the um, the channels. Um, Okay, everyone can understand me in Tanzania. Okay, thank you guys. So yeah, that was for the teachers. Now, for everyone in Tanzania, it's great to meet you guys. Good morning. I'm Baron Kim. I am the Vice President of Technology for Voice of Calling. And so some of you guys may not be familiar with Voice of Calling. So I'll just be giving a quick little presentation on what Voice of Calling is. And I'll go ahead and share my screen. Just give me one moment. Okay, so we are Voice of Calling. We Our catchphrase or is we listen, we go, and we work, and we don't let our age restrict the good that we can do, and we're giving it our best to progress humanity to a better place. Can everyone see my screen? In the playground chat. Okay. Amazing. Thank you guys. Okay, so yeah, Um, I'll be I'll just be briefly going over what the Voice of Calling nonprofit organization is. So the Voice of Calling is a nonprofit organization of young computer scientists. It was established in 2018 to help those who are in need of computer science education. Our primary purpose is to provide online and offline education about computer software, hardware, and things of that nature for those who have little access to computer education. We're also conducting a computer technology support project to help expand computer education and research in areas with limited social support. And we are also currently involved with a hackathon in Tanzania with a Future of Tanzania alum. He's not here with us right now, but we'll definitely be hopefully be able to share more about that later. Um, his name is Frank, and he runs an organization called Broken Technologies. So yeah, after you guys are done with Future of Tanzania, once you guys meet the age requirements, maybe you guys will someday be able to participate in this hackathon, or maybe even make something as grand as Frank did. So yeah, this is just one of the success stories of our alumni. Sorry. So yeah, going back to Voice of Calling, we're currently working on several projects. Right, one of them is the ones you guys are participating in right now, which is Future of Tanzania. So this program is obviously a computer programming education initiative for talented students just like you at Tanzanian STEM high schools. And later on, we're going to be hosting the Showdown event, which is our own hackathon. Right, it's an algorithm computer programming competition. Right, so it's just a coding competition that's designed to challenge and inspire high school and college students across Tanzania. And this is our website for Showdown. So it'll load. And so yeah, as you can see, the prizes is are 300 US dollars for first place, 200 US dollars for second place, and $100 US dollars for third place. And basically, this is a computer competition that you guys will be participating in towards the end of Future of Tanzania. It's 48 hours long, and here are some of the awards that our previous winners have won, right? So we had a whole award ceremony. We had sponsors like E3 Empower and CSYA. So yeah, you guys can definitely go ahead and check this out because you guys will most likely be participating in it. So I will send the link in the chat. And next, we also have a project that I personally really like that's called Voice of Dream. So, this is a coding and robotics camp that enriches the lives of children in foster care and low income families here in the US, right? So, this is our website for Voice of Dream, and hopefully it will load. But yeah, we can go ahead and look at the images. So this is just one of the coding camps that we hosted, right? This was a few years back. This was one of the Voice of Dream camps. As you can see, this is our hardworking volunteers here at our very own Voice of Calling headquarters, right? And we have our volunteers here, and they're actually the ones that are working with the kids, helping setting up everything before the camp, right? They don't get paid. They're just doing this as volunteers, right? Here are some of the other camps that we've done. So yeah, that just gives you an idea of one of the projects we do. As for the computer technology support projects, we have a project called Voice of Peace, which is an online platform which empowers African artists to showcase and sell their works and ensures a fair compensation for their creativity so that they're not being upsold. So yeah, we actually have a section just for art in Tanzania, right? And here is just some information about the project, right? As I said, it provides African artists with new opportunities for communication and promotion of their creative works. So it essentially gives them a platform to promote their pieces. And here are some of the artworks that have been showcased on this website. So this is one of the artists, Ezekiel, who has created drawings and paintings and has submitted them onto Voice of Peace to gain traction. So yeah, we have a application form for any artists who would like to get their work to a wider audience. So if we have any artists in the room, maybe you guys can check this out. I will, if anyone wants me to send any of the links to these projects, I know I'm going over them pretty fast, but I sent the Voice of Peace link in the chat. So if anyone wants me to send any other links that I went over before, you can just let me know in the playground chat. And we're also developing a project called Ataxia V, which is a rehab system with 3D modeling to support patients and doctors with ataxia, which is a rare and incurable disease. So here is the project website for Ataxia V. And this essentially just explains at a very high level what ataxia is and how ataxia V helps as a quantitative assessment tool um, for ataxia. And so, yeah, we have been recognized by all of these foundations and for research as well. And this is just a very brief glimpse at one of our more interesting medical related projects. So yeah, that's Ataxia V. And we're also creating a project called Sarah Q, SARA Q, which is a clinical testing tool for evaluating exercise abilities in brain disease patients. And it's a cloud-based system for conducting also ataxia assessment and rating scale testing and collecting objective and quantitative data. And unfortunately, we don't have a website for that. But some of the other projects that we're working on are seasonal coding camps, which we offer via Zoom. So they're kind of similar to these camps that we do for as like Future of Tanzania, but they're a little less in depth as they are geared towards elementary school students and early and middle school students. So they're we would typically teach Python and Scratch in these camps, and they're much less advanced than Future of Tanzania. So yeah, that's just a taste of what we do here at Voice of Calling. I hope that helps give you guys an understanding of who we are as a nonprofit organization. I will also, so all of these projects are listed here, right, on our website. Um, if I try to play the videos here, it will probably lag as our connection is not the best. But I will send this website in the playground chat as well so that you guys can explore it on your own time and just really see who we are as an organization. And with that, I will hand it off to Aiden, who will begin the lesson on user input, which is one of the first things that we'll be learning for our Python concepts. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll be taking it from here. Give me a second. Let me share my screen. Um, so yeah, like Baron said, the first thing that we'll go over is user input. Sorry, one second. Sorry about that. Share my screen again. So yeah, first thing we'll go over is user input. So for a lot of the problems that we're going to be doing in Future of Tanzania, we're going to have to input like a number or a string, or just like we're going to have to input something into our code and then do stuff with that, with the stuff that we put into our code. And user input in Python is the way to do it. So it's pretty simple. There's really only one line for it. And I know it shows two different things here. There's Python 3.6, Python 2.7. The one that we're going to be using is Python 3.6, as it's the more updated version, and that's what we use in Tanzania. So this is the only part that you have to worry about. So the way user input works is really simple. All we need is one function, the input function. What the input function does is whenever you want to put an input into the code, you use input and then you put the words that you want to like indicate that there is an input. So for example, if we were to if we were to use we'll just copy the example. Username is equal to input and then enter username. And I guess we'll print it as well. Yeah, print username. We'll just print username for now. We run it. And sorry, it takes a second. It's weird. Hold on. Um, so I'll just take this then. Yeah. So what should be showing up is something like this. It'll say enter username because that's what we put into our quotation marks on this side. And let's say I'll just put my name in Aiden. It'll say username is Aiden because that's what we printed. But as you can see, whenever we run it, it'll always like first print whatever we put in the parentheses first, and then it'll wait for it's like the name suggests user input. And once we give it the input that it needs, it'll store it into the variable that we have it equal to, and and then we can use that variable in all of our following code. So in this case, we're printing username is, and then the variable that we have username. That's really everything there is to it for user input. We get a variable, we use the input function, and then we type in what we want. We want to show to indicate that we need an input, and then we have a variable with our inputted whatever we've inputted. Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess is there like any questions on user input? I don't know if we're able to ask questions, if they're able to ask questions, but I mean, are there any questions?
For the students, if you guys have questions, I'm not sure if you guys are able to unmute through Ariel's microphone, but you guys can type out your questions in the Q&A channel, and some of our teachers will try their best to get back to you on those questions.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have any questions, put in the Q&A. You can also, if you're able to, just voice them, like unmute. But yeah, that's all there is for user input. Like I said, this one doesn't really matter because it's for the wrong Python. So I'll just move on for now then. The next thing that we're going to be going over are called Python operators. Operators can mean a lot of different things. It depends on the type of operator, at least for Python. So yeah, like over here, there's all of these different operators. The only things that we're going to need to know are the first four, I think. Let me check. No, actually, the first three, I think. Arithmetic, assignment, and comparison operators. Arithmetic operators are the types of operators that you're used to, like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, as well as these three that people might not be as familiar with. Modulus is basically referring to the remainder when you divide two numbers. Exponentiation is basically if you know like PEMDAS, it's the E, just like x to the y power. And floor division is basically a type of division where you, instead of getting like a decimal, like for example, if we were to do 5 divided by 2, and we were to do that with regular division, you would get 2.5. What floor division does is it just gets the highest integer that can fit into the bigger number. So 5 divided by 2 using floor division would give 2 instead of 2.5. Floor division always gives an integer, division sometimes doesn't. That's probably the best way to think about it. So arithmetic operators, just basic plus, minus, times, divide, and these three, which are pretty similar but not the same, I guess. After that, we have assignment operators. Assignment operators are basically ways to modify variables, they're just basically just ways to modify variables and change them to make different values. They have a bunch of examples here. So if you know, to originally call a variable, the first thing that we do, of course, is to have that variable equal to whatever other variable they have. In this case, we have 5. And that's one of the operators. That's the most basic type of assignment operator in Python. Just basically assigning a value to the variable. And all of these variables, I think, are actually related to integers or floats, depending on what they're using. But yeah, these assignment operators can only really be at least the ones that are important. They can only be used on number variables, so integers and floats. Plus equals is basically just adding whatever number we have after it to the original variable. So let's say we had x equals 5. If we were to do x plus equals 3, we're basically adding 3 to 5, and this would print out as 8, or x. The new value of x would be 8. I mean, if you see here, same as, so x is equal to 5 plus 3, which is 8. Same thing with these other three. Basically, we're taking away 3, so 5 minus 3 would be 2. The new value of x would be 2. Times equals is 5 times 3, so this would end up as 15. Divided by 3, 5 divided by 3 would be like some fraction. I think it's like 1 2/3, 1.7 about. Because if you remember, this is the division with the with the fractional values. So yeah, you're able to have a decimal point for this division. Modulus, that's just 5 mod 3 would be 2. Because 5 divided by 3 leaves a remainder of 2. And then floor division, which is which is like 5 divided by 3 using floor division would be 1. Oh yeah, and there's also exponentation, which would be 5 to the power of 3, which is 125, I think. These last 5, they exist, but they're not really important, at least not to what we're doing. And like they're almost never used in general. But yeah, they exist. So yeah. Okay. And then the last thing that hold on. Another thing that we'll go over is the comparison operators. So comparison operators are basically the different types of operators that are able to compare two things, just like the name suggests. And there's I mean, all of these are mostly stuff that you've probably seen if you've taken like some sort of math. So like these two are pretty self-explanatory because it's just the greater than and less than symbol. And these two are just the greater than or equal to symbols. If you've also seen those as well. The only two that I think are like non-intuitive are these first two, where the first one is the same thing as doing equals, but the problem is, or like we're comparing if the two values are equal. The reason why we have two equal signs rather than just one to represent that is because if you remember, the only having one equal sign is an assignment operator. So if we were to do x is double equal to y, that would be very different from saying x is equal to y. Because the first one is comparing the two, because we have two equal signs, while the other one would be putting the value of y into x instead of what we want, which is the comparisons. So that's equals. Not equals is represented with an exclamation mark and an equals. Because yeah, I mean, I'll show it real quick. So yeah, first we have x equals 5, y equals 3, and the reason why we're using an exclamation mark here is because in a lot of coding languages, especially Python, an exclamation mark represents like the opposite of something. So what we're doing here is saying not equals. And we don't have double equals again because this is different already from the original assignment operator, and the only reason why we changed it in the first place was to differentiate the two. So by adding an exclamation mark, we're already there's already a difference between the two, which is why we don't have two equals. But yeah, to represent a not equals, you're doing exclamation mark and equals. So here we have 5 and 3, which are definitely not equal to each other. So if we were to run it, you'll see that it prints out true because they're not equals. If we were to make them equal, like 3 and 3, if we run it, it'll give false false because of the fact that x and y are equal, which is the opposite of what we want. I'll go over logical operators as well. They're not that bad. This is what we call the AND operator. AND operators are basically ways of asking if, AND operators, like a comparison operator, need two values. So the first value and the second value. But instead of comparing the two, we're basically going to be inputting two booleans, two true or false statements. So for example, here we have x is greater than 3 and x is less than 10. And our x value being 5 here. So the AND operator is only going to print out true if both of these statements are true. So if x is both greater than 3 and less than 10, it'll print out true. So in this case, we have x is equal to 5. Since 5 is greater than 3 and less than 10, it'll print out true. If we were to change this to a value that was outside of that range, like 2, which we know is less than 3, not greater than 3, it'll print out false. Because now this one's false, and even though this one's true, since this one's false, we know that it has to be false because and operators can only print out true if both statements are true. It works the same if we're to make it over 10. It'll print out false because even though this one's true, this one's still false. The next one is the OR operator. The OR operator is a little similar to the AND operator, except it prints true if either one or both of the two are true, or of the true statements are true. So, for example, I'll change this value first. Actually, I'll change this value to, let's say we have 4. So we know 4 is greater than 3, and we also know it's less than 5. So if we were to run this, as expected, it should print out true. But what's different with the AND and OR is that if we were to change this to 6, which we know is greater than 5, when we run it, you'll see that it still prints out true. And that's because it's still greater than 3. 6 is greater than 3, of course. But even though 6 is not less than 5, since one of the statements are true, the whole thing prints out true. So we can try it again with like something that's less than 5, but also less than 3. And it'll print out true. Because even though 2 is less than 3, not greater than 3, it's still less than 5, so it prints out true. It's the OR operator, and then the NOT operator. I'll put in simpler terms. Okay, well, the NOT operator is basically flipping the value that it had. So if the thing in the parentheses is true, it's going to flip it and say false. If it's false, it's going to flip it and say true. So I'll simplify this for now. When we get x is greater than 3. And of course, 5, which is our x value right now, is greater than 3. So if we were to run this, the 5 is greater than 3. So this prints out true. But since we have a not here, we flip it and it becomes false, which is what is printed out here. If we were to change this to make it false, so 2, which is not greater than 3, then it'll print out true. And that's because of the not operator. The not operator is a little different from the AND and OR operator in the sense that the and or operators both require two statements. So for example, here x is less than 5 and x is less than 10. And the or operator the and or operator both require two statements. So here x is less than 5, x is less than 10, and then the or operator x is less than 5 and x is less than 4. But the not operator only requires one value or one statement. I know it has an and here, but that's not really necessary. I'll go back to it for a second. If you remember, I was able to do it even with just one statement. And that's because instead of checking if one or both of them are like a certain state or a certain value, we're only just flipping one statement. So if it's false, it's true. If it's true, it's false. So yeah, that's the not operator. Yeah, the rest of them are not really necessary. These are really the only things that you need to know. I mean, if you're going like more like if you're trying to like be like all knowing about Python, then these might be good to know. But like, they're not necessary for like Future of Tanzania and the stuff that we're going to do in Future of Tanzania. So yeah, that's the operators. So okay, next we're going to be doing a bunch of like simple exercises, just like a bunch of different problems. Well, let me share my screen for that. 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay. Okay. So hold on, let me go to the simple exercise first. There's 7 problems that we're going to go over for simple exercises. And the compiler that we're going to be using. Hold on, sorry. What is the compiler that we're going to be using for like to do the problems? We're going to be using online Python or onlinepython.com. If you don't know, it's online-python.com. And yeah, I'll just go to a page something like this. I guess for now, I'll just before we do anything, I should probably show you like some stuff that you can do with this. So one thing you can do, which is really important, is save like the file that you made to like your computer. So let's say we have some code. I'll just write some really quick code. So yeah, we have print waffles. And let's say for some reason I wanted to save that code. Maybe I wanted to work on it later, or maybe I wanted to like do something with it in like a different place or something like that. What I can do is I can press this button, the second button on the 4, and it'll basically just like, oh, well, first we have to name our file. I'm just going to name it main.py. And then if I were to press yes, it would save this file, everything all the code that I've written into a file called whatever I put inside here. So I could name this like waffles.py or just really anything. The only thing that's really important is that you leave the .py at the end, because that tells the file that this is a Python script rather than just like a text script or like maybe even like a script for like a different language. So the only thing that you have to worry about when you're saving the files is that you have a .py at the end. Otherwise, you can name it anything. So if I were to press yes, it would save instantly to my computer and under this specific name. But for now, I'm not going to do that because I don't really need to. And then let's say that I I did save this and I wanted to bring it up again. Um, I wanted to like, let's say I saved it like last night and I was planning to work on it later. Like let's say it's like the next day and I wanted to work on it again. What I can do is I can press open file from disk. It should be the first button on uh, on the thing. Um, and once you press it, it should what should show up is um, like a little pop up of basically your files, and then you'll be able to pick the file that you want in order to open it up again. So if I had saved that file before as waffles.py, I would have to scroll through my files, click waffles.py, and then once you open it, it'll open up like this. Since this is what I saved on it, this is what will open up. So that's these, but this button is basically an undo. So if yeah, let's say I erased something that I didn't want to, I can press undo, and then I can bring it back. Um, in another situation, let's say that I deleted something, but I wanted to bring it back, so I press undo. But then let's say I was like, oh wait, I actually did need to delete that. What I can do is press redo, which basically does the thing again, what you originally did. Um, so yeah, that's the four buttons up here. What these four buttons do, um, and then this is basically the run button. If you have some code, um, then you can press run. It'll do the code. That's pretty simple. And yeah, that's really everything you need to know for this. So yeah, let's get started with the simple exercises then. Actually, yeah, never mind. So first problem, we want to write Python code that inputs two integers and returns the sum. That should say difference, product, and quotient. The addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. You know what I mean. So let's say we had 7 and 3. We want to add 7 and 3, do 7 minus 3, 7 times 3, and 7 divided by 3. Just so you know, this 7 divided by 3 is going to be your regular division, not your floor division, as you can see by the decimal points after it. So yeah, start working on that. Hold on. Um, Sorry, 1 second. Okay. For now, I'll give you guys some time to work on it. If you guys want to try out the problem. If you remember, the two things that we went over today: user input and operators. So, I'll just put in the stuff for that. There was this, and then there was also the operators that we went over. Just that's a little hint. The input function. So yeah, I'll keep the problem up here for now, and then I'll give you guys a minute or two to try and solve it. Okay. I think I'm given a good amount of time. I'll go over the problem now. So yeah, like I said, this is going to be something important that you're going to need to use, and that's because we want to get two input numbers, input number 1 and input number 2. Um, for the sake of this problem, I'll just be calling them num1 and num2. And what we're going to store into those variables is input, and then I guess I'll just copy what they have here: input number 1 and input number 2. So input number 1, and then I'll do the exact same thing for this one: input, and then in parentheses input number 2. And then this will tell the program to wait until we have an input for number 1 and an input for number 2. And now we're going to have 4 print statements, one for each of these 4. So give me a second, let me write those. And first thing that we'll do the addition of them. So we'll have num1, or I guess we need to show that we're doing the addition. So num1 plus, I guess a space plus space, plus num2, is equal to, or I need a plus there. Oops, sorry. Is equal to num, or I guess in parentheses, num1 plus num2. Basically what this specific portion over here is doing is doing this portion right here. It's basically saying this is the addition. We're doing num1 plus num2 is equal to num1 plus num2. And we're basically doing the exact same thing for each of the print statements. So I can just copy and paste everything, except for the fact that we're doing different operations. So minus, multiplication, and then division. So we'll change that over here to subtract, multiply, and divide. And then we'll also have to change these ones to subtract, multiply, and divide. So now if we were to run this, I forgot. I forgot the parentheses at the end. It's my bad. Okay, so input number 1, we'll just use the same ones that we had here, 7, and it'll say input number 2, we'll have 3. And then there's another error. Oh, that is indeed a problem. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, yeah, sorry. Yeah, what I need to do for this one, we need to use some variable casting. Because something I forgot to mention, I probably should have mentioned, when you're doing input, it's always going to input, like the input that you put in is always going to be a string. So all of these numbers are going to be strings. So if you're trying to do this, it's going to not actually add the 2, it's going to add the 2 as if they were a string, which is not what we want. We want them to just add them, like 7 plus 3 instead of 73. So we're going to do that is using variable casting. We're going to use int on each of these numbers. There's probably a better way to do that, but this is one way of doing it. By just variable casting each of these into integers. If you guys don't know what variable casting is, it's basically just turning one variable type into another variable type. So basically what we're doing here is turning num1, which is originally a string, into an integer. So now if we were to run this, so we picked 7 and 3. Get another integer. Okay, you know what? I think another problem. Okay, what I'm gonna do instead, this was another thing I could have done. I'm going to variable cast the actual inputs, so that num1 and num2 are actually integer types, or their variable type is integer instead of string. And then for instead of doing integers for these ones, we're actually going to variable cast these to strings. And actually, we need to variable cast these as well because these are going to be considered integers. Yeah, and then I'm basically just going to put them for each of these. And then what this is going to do, we're basically turning everything into a string so that they're able to do, go into one full string. This should work, hopefully. Yeah, okay. That works now. So now, as you can see, this code is doing 7 plus 3 equals 10, 7 minus 3 equals 4, 7 times 3 equals 21, and 7 divided by 3 is this thing. If you go back here, you'll see that these are the exact same thing. They're correct, basically. We can even do it with like different numbers. So let's pick like 5 and 2. And then it'll do 5 plus 2 is 7, 5 minus 2 is 3, 5 times 2 is 10, and then 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So yeah, that's problem 1. And then now let's do problem 2. Problem 2 is basically the same thing, except instead of letting this, like if this is like a repeating decimal, we only want it to go to the first 2 decimal places. So yeah, instead of having 2.333333 all the way to the end, we're just going to have 2.33. You can use the same code that you had before. Actually, there's a better way to do this, but yeah, you can use the same code as before, and I'll give you guys a minute or two to work on it again. Okay, actually, there is something that I should mention about this problem. There's probably multiple ways to do it, but one of the most efficient ways. I mean, I'm kind of giving the answer, but I mean, like, it's kind of a function that not everybody might know about. But there's something called the round function. So that's probably the most efficient way to do the problem. I'll keep the problem up for a little more, maybe like another minute or so that you guys can try it with the round function if you guys. Otherwise, you can try and find like a different way to do it. Okay. I think that's good enough for to a good amount of time. Um, so yeah, what we're going to want to do for this one is, I mean, I'm going to be doing the way that you use the round function. Um, Now the round function takes two different inputs. So first of all, um, like I said, you could leave these first lines unchanged because we're doing the exact same thing. The only thing that's different is that the answer to division is only two decimal places. So we're only going to have to worry about this line, and more specifically, this part over here. What we're going to want to do is we're going to have the round function inside of here, and um, we're going to specify that we're rounding this value to two decimal places. And to do that, um, you're going to want to start with the number. So this number right here, num1 divided by num2. And we're going to want to specify the number of decimal places we want to round it to. In our case, we want to round it to two decimal places. And if we were to run this now, we'll just do 7 and 3 again. You'll see that it prints out 2.33, which is what we want. Two decimal places, 2.33, 2.33. Yeah. There's probably multiple ways of doing this. This is the most efficient, like I said. But yeah, it does require a little bit of like code that not everyone knows about. So yeah, we'll move on to exercise number 3. Exercise number 3 is you have to create a Python program that takes a first name and a last name as inputs and prints the name with the first letter of each name capitalized. So, I mean, my name's here. So I have Aiden Park, and it wants us to print out, "Hello, my name is Aiden Park." So our first name and our last name, but with the first letter of each capitalized. So A and P are capitalized in Aiden Park. So yeah, you can get rid of your code from last time, from the last two problems, and I'll give you guys a minute or so to work on this problem. Okay. I'll go over this one. I mean, yeah, like it was said. We're not sure if you guys have gone over the string section yet. If we haven't, then I feel free to, or I would be able to help teach it for you guys. But for now, we'll just go over this problem. This problem requires a lot of string stuff. So I guess a good idea to, or a good way to see if you guys know everything that we need to know, or that you need to know. So yeah, first thing we're gonna do, um, we're going to be doing basically the exact same things at the start, but with different variable names, because like the last one, we need inputs again. We need our first name and our last name. So input, and then in parentheses, what did it say to put here? Input your first name. So input input your first name, and then same thing here. Input your last name. Um, and the things that I'm using here, I'm using F name and L name for first name and then last name. Um, so yeah. So now we have F name and L name with our first and last name. And again, there's multiple ways to do this. The way that I'm choosing to do it is we're going straight into the print statement. And we're going to start it off with hello. Hello, my name is. So my name is. And then we're going to add, we're basically going to separate F name into the first character and the rest of the string. And then we're going to use the dot upper function to basically make the first letter into a capital letter. So way I'm going to do that is, I think this should work. F name 0 dot upper, and then um, F name and the rest of it. So like 1 to the end. And then of course we need a space in between. And then we're going to add same thing for the other way around, or same thing basically. So L name 0 upper, and then L name from 1 to the end. And then if we were to run this, I hope it doesn't give an error. We'll just use the same inputs. And yeah, hello, my name is Aiden Park. Actually, that had me with yeah, we'll do it with lowercase this time. And it still says the same thing. Hello, my name is Aiden Park, with capital letters instead of our lowercase letters that we put in. We can do the same thing with like any other first name and last name. So it's like Ben and then Lee or something like that. And then say, hello, my name is Ben Lee. Sorry. Where you were probably confused about problem 3. Yeah, basically what problem 3 is saying is that you have two inputs, your first name and your last name, and we're basically getting the first letter of each of both the first name and the last name. So in our case, the A from Aiden and the P from Park, and we're capitalizing them. So Aiden and Park, like the Aiden Park here, we have capital A, capital P, and then at the beginning we're just saying hello, my name is. Hope that might have like cleared some stuff up for you. And yeah. Okay. I've been told that we should like go over the string section. So give me a second. Let me bring that up. It'll give me like a second or so. Um, okay. Okay, I should be sharing my screen again. Yeah. So that's not the start of it. Okay. Strings. We'll basically go through the whole thing. Um, so most basic thing to know about strings, you can strings are basically any like word, phrase, sentence inside of quotation marks or apostrophe marks. Both are viable ways of using strings. It really just depends on preference which way you use it. You can assign strings to variables. This is all simple stuff. So that we have a equals hello, and then once we print a, it's just going to print out hello. You can use multi-line strings. They aren't used very often, but they exist. They're not as important to what we need right now, though, because you're not going to be using them very often. Okay, here's the first thing that we should know. Don't worry about the fact that it says strings are arrays. That's something that we'll go over in a bit, or like probably not today, but we'll probably go over it at some point. But basically, in order to specify a very specific like character inside of our string, we're going to be starting the name of the string. So in our case, the name of the string or the name of the variable that has the string is a, and we're basically trying to get, and we'll use square brackets to try and get the position of where the character that we want is, like in comparison to our string. So, for example, let's say we wanted to get let's say we wanted to get the comma, right? So the way that we would get the comma is, let's count what character the comma is. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so this would be 6, right? Well, that's not entirely true. The way that Python works is that it always starts on the 0th position. There's a name for it. I can't recall it right now, but the first character or the first letter inside of a string is always going to be at the 0th position inside of Python. So H, even though it's the first character, even though it's the first letter inside of our string, it's going to be considered at the 0th position for Python. So if we wanted to get our comma here, we would actually go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then -1. So it's 5. And if we run it now, you'll see that it prints out a comma. If we were to try and do 6, you'll see, it shouldn't actually, it'll print nothing basically. But the reason for that is because there's a space in between hello and world, and that also counts as a character inside of a string. So basically, it shows over here, all you're printing is a white space character. So yeah, basically whenever you're trying to get a specific character from a string, make sure you figure out where that character is, and then do -1 to get the position that Python says it's at. So if we wanted to get the W, we'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then do -1 for 7. And it'll show up as W. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So, next, we'll go looping through a string. So, you can kind of like the way that for loops work for strings is it's basically going to iterate through every single character. So, when we're saying for X in banana, we're basically going from B, A, N, A, N, A. So every time that we repeat the for loop, it goes to the next letter in the string. So, for here, this is this example, right? The first iteration of this for loop is going to be using X is equal to B. So we're going to print X, which is equal to B, and that's where our first line comes from. The next one is going to be A. X is equal to A. So when we print X, we're actually going to be printing A, which is what the second line here is. And it basically goes through every single letter of the string, in which case is banana. So B, A, N, A, N, A. If we were to change this to something else, cherry, you'll see that it does the exact same thing. Cherry, because basically going through every single letter inside of the word cherry. You can do a lot of other stuff with X. Like you can X like for all purposes of the variable X inside of this for the purposes of this for loop, X is always going to be equal to whatever iteration or whatever letter the iteration has currently. So if we were to like do X plus, let's give like another thing like B, right? If we were to run that, you'll see that it prints out CB, HB, EB, RB, and so on. And that's because we're basically getting C plus B, H plus B, E plus B for every single iteration that we have. And of course, it's going to end once we get to the last one because there's nothing else to repeat after that. Yeah, just in case, I'll do this real quick. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so string length. You can get the length of a string by using this function, which is called the len. Len, of course, being short for length. We're basically just we can do len and then the name of the string inside of the parentheses to get the length of that string. So hello world will count how many characters are in there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So inside of hello world, we have 13 characters. And if we were to run this, you'll see that saying len of A prints out 13. If we were to change this, let's say we take away the comma, you'll see that it goes down one. It goes to 12. And that's because by erasing the comma, we're erasing a character from hello world. And when we get the length of it, it's going to have one under. So 13 minus 1 is 12. Let's change this to something completely different. Let's change it to like hamburger. Right? Hamburger has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 characters. So when we run it, it'll print out 9. And then let's change to something a little different. Cheeseburger. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. When we run it, it'll print out 12 because len gets the length of the string. 12. So yeah, the len is the len function. Okay. Okay. So for strings, you can always some terminology that you might need to know is what we call a substring. So a substring is basically a smaller portion of the string that is that may or may not be contained inside of a bigger string, or that is contained inside of a part of a bigger string. Sorry, not may or may not be. So for example, if we were to say the best things in life are free, let's say for example life, if we were to take that specific part of the string out, that would be considered a substring. Same with if we were to take things. Even if we were to do like GS space IN, that's also a subset. Or sorry, a substring, yeah. And we can check if very specific substrings are inside of a bigger string by using in. So for example, here, we're checking whether free, the string free, the substring free, is inside of the bigger string, the best things in life are free. Of course, free is in there, so it prints out true. If we were to do something that wasn't in there, let's say like oil, and if we were to run that, oil, of course, is not in this string, so it's going to say false. We can even do something a little more unorthodox, like st space th. And if we run it, you'll see that it's true. And that's because space th is over here. And since this is technically a part of here, it's considered true because it's still in the text. It's still in the bigger string. Yeah, if we were to change this, let's change this to something else for now. I like coding in Python. You can change this. Let's say Python. If you run it, it'll be true. And then let's say we put something else, Java. It'll print out false. So yeah, you're going to look for a substring inside of a bigger string. This can actually be a variable or it can be like a whole string. We can actually replace this into here, I think, and it should still work. I mean, I can show that, I guess. It should work, I think. If we were to run this, yeah, it prints out false. And then if we were to do Python, it prints out true. So yeah. Yeah. I mean, this one doesn't really require like an example, but like, the thing that this is going to print, as we saw, is going to be a true. So you can also use. Again, not really require don't really require an example. If you remember from when we were going over operators, not basically flips the value of the true or false before or sorry, that the true or false state that it has. So if it's true, it becomes false. If it's false, then it becomes true. And it's basically doing the same thing here. Basically flipping whether the word expensive is in text. And if it's not in the text, it's going to print out true because it is not. If it was in the text, so let's say this was like free. If we were to do free not in text, then it's going to give false because it is there and we're just flipping the value. And again, you can use that with if statements as well. Going back to like the getting specific characters or a specific portion, you're also able to like you're also able to get like a specific substring inside of like our bigger string. So if you remember, if we were to do b of 2, we get L. But let's say we wanted to get LLO and maybe even the comma, right? So what we would do is use a colon to indicate that we want something from one index all the way to a separate index later on. So let's count what indexes they're on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, okay. 1, 2, 3. So since it's 3, I do -1, so it's 2. And then 4, 5, 6. So that's the sixth one, so the index is 5. Except there's also more that you have to do. If you were to do this all the way to 5, 2 to 5, you'll see that it doesn't actually print the comma. And that's because the way that this works is the first number that we include is always going to be inclusive. So this L is included into B2 to 5. But the ending one is going to be excluded. It's not going to be part of the substring. So even though our comma is at index 5, it's still going to exclude the comma because it excludes the last letter. So what we're going to actually want to do is put 6, 2 to 6. And then as you can see, now it prints LLO comma. So yeah, let's change it. Let's say we want it to make it like, let's say we wanted to get world exclamation mark. Actually, let's just get world actually. So let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So -1, that's 7. And we want to go from 7 to, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 minus 1 is 11. But again, if we were to do 7 to 11, we wouldn't get the D because that's excluding the D. So we want 7 to 12. If we run it, it'll get world. Yeah. Okay. Let's say we wanted to get world exclamation mark now. If we were to do that, we start on the same index 7, and we just add 1 because we want only one more extra character. So let's do 7 to 13. And like we want, we get world. But there is actually a small shortcut to do this. If we want to go from a specific index all the way to the end of the string, of the whole string, you can actually just leave this blank. And what that's telling Python is basically, oh, just do it all the way to the end. And if we were to run this now, you'll see that it actually just does the exact same thing, world. Because we start from 7 and we go all the way to the end. We can even start this with like 1. And it'll say hello world. Of course, omitting the H because E is the first at the first position in Python. And the same thing, we can do the exact same thing from the beginning. So instead of doing 0 to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, instead of going from 0 to 5 to get hello, we can actually just do blank to 5. And what that will do is it'll say, oh, we want to go from the beginning all the way to index 5, or excluding index 5, but still. So yeah, that's a lot about slicing strings. Yeah, this is just what we talked about. Oh, and then negative indexing. So let's say we have like a crazy long string. So like, just pretend that this is like a really long string. I'll just do this a bunch more times. So yeah, we have this really long string. And let's say we wanted like the ending three numbers, right? So we want this specific portion, LD exclamation mark at the end of the string. What we can do for that is use negative indexing. Instead of counting every single thing like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to the end, we can just go from the end and go backwards from there. So -1, -2, -3. So we start at -3. And then we're going to, we can just do the exact same thing that we did last time. We can leave it blank and show, oh, we're going all the way to the end. So LD exclamation mark. Not say we wanted to get from like W to all the way to the L. We can do that by doing it's -3, -4, -5, -6, and then all the way to -1, -2, -3. Or actually, it should be -2 because if you remember, the last one is excluded. So since this is -3 and we want to include that, we just go one more up. So yeah, that's negative indexing. Negative indexing basically just shows that we're going from the end, not from the beginning. Yeah. That's everything for slicing strings. Okay, next we'll go over modifying strings. The two functions that we need to know for these two, if you remember, I used one of these functions in the problem 3, but upper and lower. So we'll use upper first. What upper does is it basically takes the string and takes every single character in the string and makes it uppercase. So hello world, all in uppercase. Um, even if we were to change everything into a lowercase, it would still make everything uppercase. And if we were to make everything uppercase, oops, okay, that's not. If we were to make everything uppercase, it still does everything uppercase. Um, and there's the opposite of that, which is lower, which basically just makes everything into lowercase. So if we do lower here and we run it now, you'll see that it does everything in lowercase. If we were to go to our original thing, hello world, with completely normal capitalization, still does the exact same thing. And if we were to make everything into lowercase, it still does the exact same thing. So yeah, that's upper and lower. Um, okay. Removing white space. White space basically refers to um, like spaces, um, or more specifically, spaces at the beginning or the end of a string. So, for example, this over here would be considered a white space. This over here would also be considered a white space. And sometimes we don't want that. We don't want to have white space at the beginning or the end of our string. So to solve that, we can use a dot strip, and all that does is basically removes the white space from the end. If we were to take out the strip here and just print a, you'll see that it's slightly off. Like there's a bit of a, I mean, maybe it's a little hard to tell because it's not really much. If we were to like increase this a lot, it'll be a more noticeable difference. So yeah, it's definitely off of where it's normally supposed to be, and that's all because of the white space. But if we use dot strip, then it'll get rid of all that white space and go back to its normal position, like right here. Um, yeah, that's really everything there is to strip. And we can change. Oh, something to know is that like strip doesn't get rid of white space in between the actual strings. So this space over here isn't actually getting isn't being rid. Um, it only takes away the white space at the beginning or at the end of the string. Like for example, I can change it to something else real quick. Um, rotation um, of a ball. Rotation of a ball. Let's go with that. And yeah, it doesn't get rid of the white space inside, but it does get rid of the white space at the beginning. And I mean, it's really hard to tell, but it does get rid of the white space at the end too. That's a dot strip. Um, yeah. Um, yeah. Let's go to replace string next. Um, replace string, like the name suggests, it replaces a character with a different character, or I guess more specifically, a substring with another substring. Um, here we're only replacing two characters. We're replacing H with J to make hello world into jello world. But you can actually do it with like not just a character. You can do it with multiple things. So instead of saying hello, we can say bye bye. And that'll replace it. We'll replace all of hello with bye bye. So now it becomes bye bye world. Um, yeah, and you can replace it with like a bunch of other stuff. Let's replace world with earth. that also works. And it becomes it turns from hello world into hello earth. Um, and yeah, replace basically just takes a substring, replaces it with another substring. Yeah, that's really everything there is to replace. Not really much else with that. Um, okay. Split is basically, um, I mean, again, like the name suggests, split. It splits different things, or it splits the word into like based off of a separator. So, um, I mean, here we have a equals hello world, and we're setting this to a variable because you can't really. I mean, you can technically, but it's not like going to be used very often. Um, a dot split. We have a dot split, and then in the parentheses, we're going to have the separator. Well, or that's what we call the separator. Um, and if you look over here, you're going to see that we only have hello and world. Something that's missing is the comma. I mean, this comma is part of the list because split turns the string into a list based off the separator. So this is actually a comma from a list. You might notice it from the brackets, the square brackets, but this is a list. And this comma isn't actually part of hello or world. It's just separating hello and world, two values inside of the list. And this actually separates, this is called the separator because it says when to separate between the two values. So hello and world. There's a comma in between, and it shows that we're separating between hello and world. And you can even see that because after the comma, there's a white space, and that white space becomes present inside of the list as a part of world. Um, Something interesting you can do is, let's go back to rotation of a ball. Instead of using a comma, you can actually use any substring, really. So you can even use a space, and what that'll do is take each word specifically, and it'll say rotation of a ball. And a dot split with a space as a separator is basically going to separate each word. Another thing you can do that's interesting is you can put nothing as a separator in the split, and what that will do is it'll basically that doesn't exist? Question mark. Okay. I thought that was I'm pretty sure that was a thing, but there's a way to basically um separate each specific letter. That might not be the way to do it. I'm not entirely sure. Um, but yeah, so rotation of a ball. Something funny that we could do to show the separator thing. There's a lot of O's inside of this. So if we were to split it using O as our separator, you'll notice that it does exactly that. R, and there's an O after that. Tatia, or I guess Tati, and there's another O. N, and then N space, and then there's another O. F, or I guess the rest of the thing because there's no O's after that. So yeah, that's the dot split function for strings. Okay. Um, String concatenation, basically just if you add two strings together, you're going to get them just combined like this. So hello world gets hello world. And note that doesn't have any spaces. You actually have to put that inside of the strings themselves. So if I put a space at the beginning of world, you'll see that it gives a space. You can also do it, or more commonly, it's done at the end of strings. So this would also print hello world with a space. You can really do anything here. That will give rotation of a ball. And that's basically string concatenation. Yeah. Something else you can do, if I mean, let's say in the problem 3 that we had before, we used like a mix of variables and actual strings, like literal strings. Um, and the way we can do that is do string concatenation. And string concatenation allows us to combine string variables with actual strings inside of the same line. So what this does, even though we don't have a space at the end of rotation of, or a space begin before the a ball, there's still a space in between because of the space that we manually put in when we're actually combining the two strings. We can actually put anything in there. We can put like an O, and it'll just replace it with an O. Rotation of a ball, but instead of a space, we have an O. Um, yeah, that's string concatenation. Um, okay. This is string formatting. Um, so when we're doing string concatenation, something important to know, and where I went wrong with when I was doing the first and second problem, is that you can't add integer variables, and strings. So we have age is equal to 36, and if we say my name is John, I am age, um, it's trying to combine a string and an integer, and you can't really do that in Python. Um, so this is where the format or like the format function comes in. So let's go to here. The format function basically it gets by well, first we specify that it's for text, this specific string, and um, format basically takes every curly bracket in the string and replaces it with whatever integer or float or bool that we want to. So if we run this now, you'll see that it prints my name is John and I'm 36. That's where age is from. So my name is John and I am curly brackets. This curly brackets indicates that we want to put a variable in there that's not a string. And in our case, we want to put in age, and that's what we get. I am 36. This also, well, this one allows us to put integers straight into a string concatenation, or I guess this isn't really concatenation anymore, but like straight into strings without having to variable cast them and all that stuff. And second, it allows us to easily change the age. So, or like in this case, it allows us to easily change the age. So let's say he was 39 now. We change it. We can just change one line, and it changes the whole thing. It changes the variable. We can now he's like 42, and it easily changes. So format is like a very efficient way of combining strings with other types of variables. You can also have like multiple different things. So this is a good example of that. We have 3 things: quantity, item number, and price. 3, 567, and 49.95. Here we have 3 curly brackets, and what we're going to want to do specifically is put them in order of these 3 things. So I want blank piece of item blank for blank dollars. And what we want to do is we want to put 3 in the first one because the quantity, I want 3 pieces of item 567, our item number, for $49.95 price. And when we're formatting, we always want to put every single thing in order. So this first curly bracket is always going to be this first input. This second curly bracket is always going to be this second input. This third curly bracket is always going to be this third input. If we were to change these around, let's say we put price here, and then we put item number here, you'll see that it actually changes them around. So now it'll say, I want 3 pieces of item $49.95 for $567, which is not exactly what we want. But I mean, it's yeah. If you switch them around, it'll also switch them around. Like it'll also switch the position around in terms of where the curly brackets are, or in terms of which curly bracket it goes in. Um, if for one reason or another, you wanted to, you can't really like put them in order. You can do it this way instead, where you specify that this curly bracket is for the first quantity, or if you remember, Python always starts at index 0, so this is going to be the first value. Number 1 is going to be the second value, and number 2 is going to be the third value. So, I mean, even though quantity doesn't go here, item number doesn't go here, and price doesn't go here, it still formats correctly because of the fact that you have it. It specifies the first one goes here, the second one goes here, and the third one goes here. If you were to completely take these out, you'll see that it all messes up because we have I want to pay $3 for 567 pieces of item 49.95, which is a steal bargain, but not what we want. We want quantity to go here, item numbers go here, and price to go here. Um, so yeah, that is formatting strings. Okay. Escape characters are basically a way to like if we want like a how do I put this? If we want to have double quotes inside of a string, so like for example, like in this case, we want to have double quotes in Vikings here. Um, you can't. Well, I mean, one thing you can do is change these to apostrophes because that allows you to have double quotes. But let's say you also need apostrophes somewhere in there. Um, that's where escape characters come in. So by using escape characters, it allows us to basically get the um, next thing, and or sorry, it basically allows us to use double quotes in here. So if we try this, you'll see that we're able to use double quotes in here because of escape characters. So this basically forces the next thing to come after it to be a part of the string, even if it would normally take you out of the string or just give an error in itself. Um, so these are some examples of escape characters. This is for single quotes. This is for a backslash. This is for a new line, carriage return, tab, backspace, octal values, hex values. I'll give an example of like some of them, like this one. So doing hello backslash n world basically just puts it on a new, like a completely new line. So that's escape characters. String methods. This is just a list of a bunch of string methods. You're not going to need to know all these. I'm not going to really say all of them. This is just like documentation, basically. I mean, if you want to go through with them, if you want to look through them later, feel free to do so. But we're not going to go over them in this class. This is just a bunch of exercises. We don't really need to. And yeah, that should be everything for strings, basically. I feel like I might have gone a little too fast at some points, but and sorry about that. I hope our Q&A team did enough to help you guys. And yeah, that's everything for string. Hold on. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay. Yeah, we don't have that much time left. So I'll pass it off to Baron again to talk about like the homework and stuff for that.
Yeah. So thank you, Aiden. So yeah, for you guys' homework, you guys will be using something called sololearn.com. Basically, this is a platform that will let you um, practice your Python and just do exercises related to what you learned today. So what you guys will do is you guys will create an account with SoloLearn, and you will just complete the problems that we give you. So I'm going to put the homework in the live lecture notes as well as the homework channel. So you guys will just be doing the exercises, which are up to text data. Okay. So yeah, that will be the homework. And if you check if you basically, if you submit a wrong answer 3 times, then you guys will actually, it will not allow you to solve the problem again for 8 hours, right? It's just the way that solo learn is. So read carefully, right? And try programming with your IDE. Just make sure that you guys are submitting what you think is 100% the correct answer. Okay. And make sure you guys also try to complete simple exercise one. I will also be releasing that in the chat. Just give me one moment. So yeah, make sure you guys are completing the simple exercise one as well. If you guys have any questions about the homework, then you guys can feel free to put it in the Q&A chat, and we'll try our best to answer your questions. Does anyone have any questions for us before you go? Okay, if not, then I think I. Oh, it looks like someone is typing a question. Oh, okay. Shedrack, if you have a question, do you have a question or? Okay. Looks like we don't have any questions. So thank you so much to the your students in Tanzania. I hope that the lesson today was informative, and I'm really excited to see how fast you guys learn Python, and hopefully we'll be able to participate in Showdown. And also thank you to our teachers, right, for answering questions in the chat, doing live lecture notes, and obviously lecturing as well. So thank you so much to everyone, and I will see you guys here again tomorrow at the same time. Okay, thank you, everyone.